Every afternoon at exactly 1:15 p.m., when the lunch rush at Miller's diner slowed just enough for the air to settle and the clinking of plates softened into background music, Emily Carter would notice him. He always chose the same booth by the window, the one with a crack in the red vinyl seat and a view of the busy street outside. He dressed simply, faded jeans, a gray hoodie, worn sneakers. His dark hair was neatly combed, but there was something distant in his eyes, as if he carried the weight of the world quietly on his shoulders. He never ordered much. Just black coffee and the cheapest item on the menu. Today it was toast and scrambled eggs. And every single time, when the bill arrived, he would hesitate. Not dramatically. Not enough for anyone else to notice. But Emily noticed. She noticed the way he checked his wallet twice. The way he calculated silently. The way his jaw tightened for a brief second before he reached for the small stack of folded bills. Emily was 24, working double shifts to support her sick mother and pay off nursing school loans she had been forced to pause. She knew what it felt like to count coins before making a decision between food and bus fare. So the first time she did it, she didn't think much of it. She told the cashier she would cover table 7. He forgot his card, she lied casually. When the man realized his bill was already paid, he looked confused. "It's taken care of," Emily said with a gentle smile. "Must be your lucky day." He stared at her for a moment, surprised. "Thank you," he replied softly, as if the words meant more than they should. The next day, he returned. Same time. Same booth. Same modest order. And again, when he reached for his wallet, Emily quietly paid. This time, he protested. "You don't have to do that," he said, his voice firm but kind. Emily shrugged. "Maybe I want to." He studied her face as if trying to understand her motives, but she simply walked away to refill another customer's coffee. What Emily didn't know was that Daniel Hayes was far from poor. In fact, he was the youngest self-made millionaire in the city, the founder of a tech company that had recently sold for an astonishing sum. But wealth had come with a price. Betrayal from friends. A broken engagement when his fiancée confessed she loved his success more than she loved him. Investors who only saw numbers when they looked at him. So Daniel had done something radical. He stepped away from his polished penthouse and designer suits and decided to disappear into simplicity for a while. No one in the diner knew that the struggling guy at table 7 owned half the buildings on that very street. He came to Miller's not for the food, but for the quiet. And soon, for her. There was something about Emily that unsettled him in the best way. She didn't flirt with him like the others sometimes did with well-dressed businessmen. She didn't try to impress him. She treated him like a human being, no more, no less. On the 5th day of her secretly paying for his lunch, Daniel decided to test something. He left his wallet at home on purpose. When the bill came, he sighed lightly. "I guess I really can't pay today," he admitted. Emily leaned closer and whispered, "Good thing I've got you covered." He frowned slightly. "Why?" She hesitated, then answered honestly. "Because sometimes people just need a little help without being asked." Those words struck him harder than any boardroom negotiation ever had. No conditions. No expectations. Just kindness. Over the next few weeks, their conversations grew longer. He learned about her mother's medical treatments. About her dream of becoming a nurse. About the nights she cried quietly in the storage room so customers wouldn't see her exhaustion. She learned that he liked reading philosophy, that he preferred silence over parties, that he hadn't spoken to his father in years. They laughed over burnt pancakes and debated whether fate was real. And every single day, she paid for his lunch without keeping count. One rainy afternoon, Daniel arrived earlier than usual. He looked different, more serious, more certain. Emily brought his coffee, smiling as always. "Rough day?" she asked. He looked at her and felt something shift inside him. "Emily," he began slowly, "why do you keep doing this?" She blinked. "Doing what?" "Paying for me." She shrugged. "Because I know what it's like to feel like you're barely holding on. And I don't want you to skip meals because of pride." He stared at her, overwhelmed by the purity of her intention. No one had looked at him like that in years, not as an opportunity, not as a status symbol, not as a stepping stone, but as someone worth caring about. That evening, after her shift ended, a sleek black car pulled up outside the diner. Emily assumed it belonged to one of the wealthy customers downtown. But when Daniel stepped out of the passenger seat, wearing a tailored suit that fit him like it was stitched from confidence itself, her breath caught in her throat. The driver opened the door for him. The restaurant owner rushed outside, suddenly bowing his head respectfully. Emily stepped back, confusion flooding her mind. Daniel walked toward her slowly. "I owe you an explanation," he said gently. "I'm not who you think I am." The world seemed to pause. He told her everything. About his company. The sale. The millions. The loneliness. The reason he came to the diner in disguise. Emily listened quietly, her expression unreadable. When he finished, there was a long silence between them. "So, you lied?" she asked softly. "I hid the truth," he corrected. "Because I needed to know if someone could care about me without knowing what I have." Tears welled in her eyes, not from betrayal, but from something deeper. "And did you find your answer?" she whispered. He stepped closer. "Yes. I found it the first day you paid for my lunch." He reached into his pocket and handed her an envelope. Inside was a check large enough to cover her mother's treatment and her tuition, many times over. She looked up at him, stunned. "This isn't charity," he said quickly. "It's gratitude. Anne. I was hoping you'd have dinner with me. Not as someone I owe, but as someone I'm falling in love with." The rain began to fall again, softly this time, like applause from the sky. Emily smiled through her tears. "You know," she said, "I liked you better in the hoodie." He laughed, an honest, unguarded laugh she had never heard before. "I can wear it again." She took a deep breath, then nodded. "Dinner sounds nice." In that moment, the millionaire and the waitress stood not as opposites, but as equals, two hearts that found each other through kindness, not status. And sometimes, the smallest acts, like paying for someone's lunch, can open doors to the greatest blessings. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful, emotional stories that remind us that kindness always comes back multiplied.